Welcome to the first Thames Discovery Tideway talk online. We're really pleased that you all joined us. Just in the way of introductions, my name is Helen Johnston and I'm an archaeologist with the Thames Discovery programme, and a few of my colleagues are here as well today. Will and Josh, I don't know if you just want to introduce yourselves as well. Wave, hi. We are really pleased to welcome Adam Corsini here, who's going to be talking about the Layers of London project that he worked on and the website. But before we do that, because we've had so many people sign up for this, we thought we'd just do a little quick introduction to what we do at Thames Discovery Programme, because I think for some people it might be new to you, so you may not have come across us before. We're a community archaeology project, so we work with volunteers across London to monitor the archaeology on the Thames. And obviously this year that's been a little bit difficult. We've had to, the team were furloughed for a while, and obviously with lockdown we weren't able to get out and about as much. But normally we've got about 40 key sites in Greater London where the Thames is tidal. So that's roughly from Richmond in West London all the way through to Erith in South East London. And we go down at low tide and we look at the archaeology that's down there and we record it. As well as that, we do lots of outreach and events, and basically we share the archaeology and what we've found out and what's known about it. So in normal times, as it were, we would be running a series of in-person events and talks and things like that, but we've had to switch to virtual events at the moment. So and this is the first one that we've run. And these events are sponsored by Tideway, who are the people who are building the Thames Super Sewer. So we're really grateful for them for their support. That means that we're able to offer these activities for free. And so big thank you for them for that. And yes, so I think what I might do now is hand you over to Adam, if he's ready.
Sure.
Start doing his talk. Oh, actually, before we do that, a couple of things. If you want to ask questions, or Adam might ask you to like send some ideas and stuff, there should be a questions box on your screen. I think it's a little like a question bubble with a question mark in the middle. So yeah, if you just click on that and type in there, and I will keep an eye on what's being put in that box and pass messages on to Adam and so on. With this setup, we don't have the ability to unmute participants for you to talk, so you'll need to type any questions and stuff you've got into the chat. Okay, yeah, sorry. Over to you, Adam.
No worries, that's great. So evening everyone, and thank you all for attending. I mean, it's great that so many people have been interested, and tonight I'm going to talk about the Layers of London project, which was a project that was funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, and it was based at the University of London at the Institute of Historical Research. The funding for the project, for the engagement side of the project, was completed early this year in September. However, one of the objectives from the whole off of the project was to encourage a crowdsourced contribution element to the project, so that once the funding came to an end, it would be a site that was active and live that people could contribute to beyond its funding life. So, so I'm really pleased that I'm able to talk about this, even though the truth is I'm not actually working on the project anymore. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hope the Wi-Fi works tonight and everybody can hear me okay. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go onto the actual Layers of London website so we can look at the site in real time, so to speak. And I'll show you some of the functionalities of the site, explain a little bit more about the background, and then I'll try and make it as interactive as possible. So if there's anywhere in London that someone's particularly interested in looking at, a particular spot on the Thames, for instance, we can try and navigate to that spot and see what layers and maps exist to help explain that area's history. During the course of the talk tonight, what I'll do is I'll show you not only that functionality and how to navigate through the site and the kinds of different layers that are available, but also how you as an individual can contribute your own history and your own information. In particular, because the focus being the Thames tonight, if you have any information about an aspect of the history of the Thames, or for instance, if you're a mudlark and you have a particular spot on the Thames that you're taking photographs of, that could be something that potentially you might want to add to Layers of London, and I'll come on to that in due course. But without further ado, I will attempt to share my screen. So I'm hoping that that has worked, and you can see my screen now.
I can see your screen.
You can see the screen. Great. Okay. As long as you can, that's all good. I will just get rid of myself. So so the website is very simple. It's layersoflondon.org. You type it into the URL and up pops this screen here. As I mentioned earlier, it was funded by the National Literary Heritage Fund, and one of the great things that I always thought was fantastic about the project was, from its initiation, what I wanted to do was bring together some of London's most iconic historical maps and data sets. And that meant partnerships with numerous organisations, some quite large, like the British Library, the London Metropolitan Archives, the National Archives, Museum of London Archaeology, and some quite small, like local borough administrative archives. There's a map on here from a fantastic artist called Kimball Bumstead, who created a map with a community, and that's on there as well. And there's hundreds and thousands of individual records contributed by the everyday person. So it really has this amazing scale and scope between these huge institutions and these everyday individuals that have contributed and made Layers of London what it is. So from the homepage, we try to make it as simple as possible. At the top, you can see map learning, etc., etc. To get onto the map straight away, you click Get Started. But before I do that, here's an idea of what the project's about. You can add your own stories. There are projects which you may want to find out more about and be inspired to create your own ones. And throughout the year and lockdown, we created lots of YouTube videos relating to either the site itself or various layers within the site, and that's available by clicking on this tab here. You can search for any content on the site doing a simple place search in this bar here, and there's not tabs, what are they called? There's they go. I can't remember what they're called. They're a bit like keywords here, and you can search using those. And then there's a series of collections that we've also highlighted at the bottom. But I'm going to scroll right up to the top, and I'm going to click on the word map, because this is where you really start to play with the site. And just going over the two major, let's hope the Wi-Fi works now. The two main strands of what the project was about. On the left-hand side, it's about individual records, individual pins that you can group together to form collections. So here are some highlighted ones. There's one on Punk London for Black History Month in 2019. The collection was built. There's an amazing project we put together, mapping London's pubs here. I think there's over 1,000 pubs that have been mapped. Scrolling down, there's projects like this one here from the London Archaeologist magazine, where individual articles have been mapped. And if I hover over this record, the Hope and Anchor, what you should see on this side, which is the other aspect of the site, maps and layers and data sets, one of these pins should turn red when I hover over the Hope and Anchor. So there we go. So it's a little bit like Google Maps in the sense that the pins reflect what's showing on the left-hand side over here. So one of the top tips I have to navigate the site is clicking on this semicircle in the middle and the arrow. So I'll click on that, and hopefully, please work while I'm live. Let's just go back to this homepage here for a second. I did try and prepare earlier, so I'm going to see if this works here. Okay, so if I open that up, this is what we sort of looking at earlier. We have records on the left-hand side and the map on the right. And if you click on this semicircle here, it should temporarily hide what we call the tray, where those records are visible. And in the bottom left-hand corner, there's something called Layer Tools. And this is a really handy functionality toolbar where you can determine how to show records like so. Hopefully this works. Or hide those records. And when I'm tending to look at maps and data sets, it makes it a lot easier if you hide those records. So I'll just do that again. You can click on show records, and that's how it looks when you first go onto the site. But I find it a lot easier to hide those records. And then you can go to choose new layers, which is in the box as well down here. And this is where our layer directory starts to come up. And the layer directory shows it's been divided into 3 types of maps or layers, and those are London-based maps, maps relating to particular boroughs, and then data sets. So we can take a brief look at those. So I'll click on London Maps first. Now, the earliest map in terms of the period being depicted is medieval London, and if I click on this one here, when you click on a box, a little blurb comes up as to who made this, and this was the British Historical Town Atlas. The content of the map itself, what's being depicted, and then some of the different sub-maps within that layer. I'm not going to upload this one just now, so I'm going to close it by clicking on the top right crossover here. And I'm just going to show you a few of the different layers that you can choose from in our directory. So the earliest, I suppose, original map, because the medieval and the Tudor maps were derived from archaeological information and historical data. But the Agus map here is the earliest original map that has been transposed onto the site. But then we have a whole series of layers relating to the development of Westminster and Southwark, the city as it expanded throughout the centuries, throughout the decades and centuries, parks and gardens, maps relating to before and after the Fire of London. If I go to show more, we have some of the most popular ones like the Rokes 10-mile round map. The Booth poverty map is an incredibly popular one. And then other highlights include the bomb damage map, the Ordnance Survey maps, Raf Aero Collection. We might come on to a few of those in a moment. I'm just going to scroll up to the top and show you data sets, because it's here where we start to get data and layers relating particularly to the River Thames. And one of those is in transport networks. So I'm going to click on this one. And we can see that in here we have canals, canal bridges, locks, and various other transport related data. So I'm going to click, just scroll down, hopefully you can see this, but I'll click use this layer, because that's how you add an individual layer or data set to the map. And what we should find is that a green box appears around that layer and a tick in the corner where that plus was earlier. Now, I have already uploaded a second layer on this page. If I scroll down, click show more, we should see that there's a layer relating to the environment, and that also has that green border around there and a tick. So if I click I'm done, we start to get lots of different things come up on our map here. In our layer tools on the left-hand side, we can see that there are these eye icons, and if an eye icon is coloured in white as opposed to having a line through it, it means that it's active and it's live on the actual base map. So I'm just going to turn some of these off because some come on automatically. So if I turn off parks and gardens and turn off trees like so, and on my transport networks, I'm going to turn off this fantastic map of the London Underground but at street level. So please do all explore these maps and layers in your own time later. I'll turn that off for now, because these I thought might be interesting for tonight's talk. What we're looking at here are the underground rivers, along with the river itself, that run through the different boroughs of London and Greater London. Now what we can do is we can start to zoom in on these, and ooh, let's hope this Wi-Fi holds. Let me try zooming out for a second. Now I might just leave it there because the Wi-Fi is, or the maps itself are looking a little bit iffy tonight, but The important thing to say is that all the maps and all the data have been geo-referenced onto a base map which uses OpenStreetMap. So what we're looking at here, and hopefully if I hover over the blue line of this underground river, you'll see that my cursor has changed from an open hand to a pointed finger. Now if I click on that, give it a few seconds, but hopefully a small yellow box with some data will appear. Here we go. So it tells us that this is the river fleet and shows you where that would run under today's modern streets. So these have all been geo-referenced. And I'll just click on that yellow box to remove that one. So as well as those underground rivers, we also have canals. And I'll just click on this eye to make that visible. There we go. And I'll do Canal Bridges as well. And I'll zoom out a little bit, like so. And we should just about see that we have the Regent's Canal popping up along here. And these little crosses, they relate to the Canal Bridges. And now, here we go, it's starting to work now. All kicks in. And I can also turn on locks. Oops. And canal tunnels as well, and they should all be color coded. I think here we have a lot coming up, and canal tunnels will also feature, hopefully. Now what I might do, here we go, if I move over to East London, we can see that the network of the canal systems are really coming up over here. And this might be a useful one if you're looking at aspects of the Thames and the rivers that came off it, some of the underground rivers that are no longer existing but used to run, where they used to run, and any aspect that may relate to the Thames itself and its tributaries. So I thought this might be, I was hoping this would be a good one to start with. I do apologise about the slight lag here. But what I also wanted to show was the map itself. So I'm going to risk this for the moment and go back to this Layers of London icon, which is in the top left-hand corner. If I click on that, it should return us to the home page. And this time, rather than clicking on map, I'm going to click on this get started, because that should bring us to the layer directory. Fingers crossed. Here we go, and it does. So we'll just let that load up a little. And this time I'm going to add this Argus map, which I previously mentioned. And to do so, once again, I click on the little plus, brings up a little blurb, tells us that it's courtesy of London Metropolitan's archive. I'll click on use this layer and my box turns green. I'll click I'm done. And hopefully it'll work this time. If I click on this arrow, that should minimize the tray. There we go. In our layer tools at the bottom, I've got hide records, which I'll do. And then we can see this map features quite small on the base map here. And that's because the Argus map, as I'm sure most of you are aware, only represents the city of London in the 16th century. So I'll try to zoom in a little more. Ooh. And here we go. One of the great things about Layers of London is not only have these maps been geo-referenced to the best possible way they can. Some of the older ones like this one, some are slightly off, as you can see, because clearly the river doesn't run like this and runs slightly differently. But if we were to hover over something like St. Paul's, that's on top of today's St. Paul's. And if I zoom in further, the great thing is that they're geo-referenced at an incredibly high resolution. I say that it's all fuzzy, but here we go. So we can see the Tower of London here, and we can zoom right in to have a really close look at that map, which in some respects is it makes it easier to navigate than if you were to see the original. And for tonight's talk, I wanted to show you this one because it has one of the earliest depictions of the River Thames, and there's some fantastic detailing of the different types of boats that we can see here. So we're just beneath the Tower of London here. It has lovely views of Southwark as it would have looked. We obviously have London Bridge, and nice to see the buildings on London Bridge on this layer. And then as we scroll further west, you should come across some of the Bearbaton pits and the sites which later would have become some of Shakespeare's theatres. So I'm going to attempt to go over to a different tab because again I prepared this one earlier and fingers crossed this one will work. Nope, it's reset itself. Okay, let me go back to this one. I'll tell you what I'll do. I will go to choose new layers, and what I want to do is add a few more layers to explore. So our Argus map is still active. I'll click on this tab, London Maps, and it should now, if I scroll down, offer us the possibility of taking a look at Morgan's map, for instance. So let's open this one up. And let's say use this layer. I'll go to show more. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to upload a few here. I'm going to upload the bomb damage map. Use this layer. And the Raf Aero Collection. I'll explain a bit more about these, all being well, if they upload correctly. I'll click I'm done. And now we can see in our layer tools, we have several different layers highlighted. So if I zoom out a little bit, we should find that very much like a PowerPoint presentation, the maps are, if you think of a PowerPoint presentation where you can put different images in and you can send some to the front and send some to the back, you can do the same in layers of London using this layer tools over here. So the map and the layer we can see the majority of at the moment is this Raf Aero Collection, which are a series of around 8,000 photographs that were taken by the RAF after World War II, and they are currently stored as individual images with Historic England. And they kindly put together this project with us in partnership, where we had members of the public geo-reference these images alongside today's modern OpenStreetMap, and that enabled us to create this fantastic mosaic of London going right up to the outer boroughs, which is effectively a Google Earth from the 1940s. I'm going to close this one just to see if that helps. I might turn off my camera as well just to see if that helps here. That might speed things up a little bit. So as I was mentioning, here we have, I'm going to call it Google Earth 1949, and that's currently at the top of my layer tools. But if I wanted to put that Argus map up to the top, I simply click and grab on this Argus map up here. I can move that to the top of my layer tools up here, and we should find that it pops up there. So let's use that one to navigate back in. And if we, what's going on? If it stops, I'll move over to roughly where the Tower of London should be picking up, should pick up in a moment. Here we are. Now, let's just let it load. I'm not going to resume it any more at this stage, but in our layer tools, there's this bar next to this eye icon, and we should be able to hover over it and click, and then fade the Argus map in and out so we can see roughly where the Tower of London is today. So this hasn't the Argus map, because of its linear nature, hasn't georeferenced perfectly, but we can see that the Tower of London was picked up in the aerial photographs. And if I fade that one out, we will have the bomb damage map of London underneath, like so. So around the Tower of London, there were several buildings that suffered quite heavily from the Blitz and the bombs. And if we were to then, I'm going to risk this, navigate east over to the docks area. Come on, Layers of London, help me out here. It doesn't want to play. Let's leave it there. If we have a look at some of these areas where they are color coded black, that means total devastation from the bomb damage. If I turn on this Raf Aero Collection again, we should see that in some of those black spaces, we can see the wipeout picked up in these aerial photographs. So this could be interesting for anyone that's looking at the River Thames and the surrounding areas and thinking about how the Thameside properties have developed over the decades, especially in the 20th century. And the other thing I thought would be interesting to talk about in terms of the maps are the development of the Thames itself that clearly were picked up in any map layers. So let's turn off this RAF one, let's turn off the bomb damage, and we should have Morgan's beautiful map here. So again, some beautiful depictions of the boats, but I'll try and do this. If I zoom in, will it let me zoom in? I'll click on, here we go. We can start to see some of those docks, St. Catherine's Stairs, the Iron Gate here. And these may be useful, especially if you're going down to the Thames as the Thames Discovery Programme does, and are starting to record some of those archaeological features along the riverside. Okay. Let's I'm just going to check to see if there's any questions so far. Any questions? There's a question. Are the old distorted maps synced to modern orientations? Oh, there's an answer as well. So yeah, they can be. So what I'll just emphasize that most of the old maps have been geo-referenced using fixed points on those old maps and matching them up to the fixed points on today's current map. So taking this Morgan layer that we have here, if I fade this out, I'm hoping that this corresponds quite well, and it does. So we can see Queen Hythe there, and there it is in the Morgan map. So as well as moving this bar, and you can turn these layers and fade them in and out, you can turn them off completely by clicking on this eye icon. And if there's a layer we want to remove entirely, so if I turn that Argus map back on, if we just wanted to get rid of that entirely, we click on that little cross here and that disappears. So if we wanted to look at that one again, we'd have to go back to choose new layers and add that back on. Now there is another way to add layers, and that's simply by hovering over this navigation bar on the left hand side, and as you probably imagine, click layers here, and that will bring up the layer directory once again. We had a quick look at some of the different London maps here, but if I click on data sets, there are some interesting ones that people might want to explore in your own time as well. Those include Archaeology of Greater London. So that has the Roman, medieval and Saxon infrastructure. If I open that up, we can see some of the different available data here. If I scroll down a bit further, in terms of archaeology and the kind of work that the Thames Discovery Programme do, many of the archaeological sites along the river have been mapped, and their summaries are part of London Archaeological Investigations here. There's a fantastic layer from Historic England that looks at the historic environment records, and again, any important features along the Thames, they will be included in this layer. So we have the assets and the activities. I'm not going to risk opening all these up now because they are quite large data sets, and I'm hoping that when you have a chance to explore these at home, you'll find it a little easier than it's working tonight. But I'll close this layer directory at the moment. I'm just going to turn off all these maps, because what I also wanted to talk about tonight is the other side of Layers of London, which is the records and the collections that anybody can put together. So let's see, if I open up this tray, let's see what's visible at the moment. I'm going to show records in my layer tools down here. So you can see there's hundreds of individual pins that have been dropped onto this base map. And as we hover over some of these over here, you can just about see a red where the Royal Exchange is. If I move that down here, that should turn red. It's going to change it all now. All right, bear with me, guys. Let's go back to the home page. Because what I really want to do is show you some records and collections that particularly relate to the River Thames. And to do that, if we go over to the navigation bar menu over here, we can see there's search records. So if I click on that, a search menu or search bar should appear. You can search for a particular place. So we might do that in a moment, but we can also search for a topic. So if in the topic, if I put Thames and search the records, is this going to work for me? Okay, now it looks like if I close this, I'm hoping here, yes, in the popular, we have some of the records relating to the Thames down here. Now, the City of London Archaeology Society did a fantastic collection which looked at the Thames at War and the Thames Path. So if I click on, I'm going to click on this one, this collection, Thames at War Path here. And while we wait for that to load, we can see there's 40 records. And again, hovering over an individual record in my tray on the left-hand side, it makes the pin on the right-hand side turn red. And what's great about this particular collection is that you can pretty much use these to have a walk of the River Thames, really, not necessarily the entirety of this, but if you wanted to take one section. So let's not risk too much here and just sort of go into this area of Wapping. You can click on an individual pin. It gives you a little summary. If we click on that box, there's the record that Colas uploaded recently. And it tells you that piece of information here. It has some nice photographs up there. It has the tags, and it tells you what collection this record is a part of. So you can have a look at all these as you go along, and indeed you can add your own records in a similar way to how Colas have created this Thames at War collection. To do that is very simple. If we go back once more to that homepage, if you haven't signed in, there's a space saying sign up here. There's also usually a space saying create an account. To create an account, it's really simple. It takes less than a minute to do. You simply fill in your details and away you go. You don't need an approval or anything else. And then once you have an account, once you're on the map, you can then once again hover over the left-hand navigation panel, and you'll see that it says add record. Just before I do that, I just want to emphasize that you don't need an account to access Layers of London. You can explore the layers and explore the records and data sets and collections without having an account. But if you wanted to contribute to the site, then you do need to create that free account. And once you've added that, you can then click on add record here, and we'll see choose the location of record come up on top, and my mouse has turned into a crosshair. I'm not going to risk zooming in. I'm simply going to click over the Thames down here in the Isle of Dogs, and then it comes up with the edit record page. There are 3 mandatory bits of information that you need to add anything to Layers of London. The first is the title, so I'll just put River Thames. When this happened, let's put in 2019. You don't necessarily need to put a date or a month. You just at a very minimum need a year, and then a description. So I'll just put river for sake of this task. And then the only other essential bit of information is the tag. So under the different tags here, we have, let's go for transport, and we can have river transport here, and say if my record's relating to a boat that was on the Thames. And that is sort of a basic bit of information. You need a title, a date, a description, obviously better than the sample one I've got up here. And then if we click on Save as Draft, there's our very, very basic record. And obviously that isn't a great record. So what we want to do is add more to that. So if I go to Edit, which once we're on this page, we scroll down to the bottom right, we click Edit, and it should bring up that record page again. So if I now make a better description, say it's not going to be a great one, folks, but here we go. I owned a boat on the Thames, simple like that. And if we wanted to add a photograph of that boat, I could go to Add Media and Documents here. I could upload a file by clicking here, and that will link me to my directory. If I wanted to link it to a YouTube video, I could upload a YouTube video, but I could embed a YouTube video by putting in the link here. In the upload a file, I can also add any PDFs or sound bites as well. So for instance, during the summer, we ran a nice project which was trying to record the sounds of the summer. So people were taking sounds on their phone and uploading those. And likewise, that could be something that could be done along the riverside. If there's links to other websites which aren't necessarily the source of where this information is coming from, you can link them here. So for instance, if there was something relating to the Thames Discovery Programme, you could link to the web pages there. If your information and record was a piece of information that came from the Thames Discovery Programme, then you would put that their website link into the sources and attribution. So one of the really important things about Layers of London is that everything is shared under a Creative Commons license. So that means that it's absolutely essential that you source everything and you attribute any documents or any photographs and any source of information to. Likewise, that happens when you upload an image. There appears a box that says the copyright ownership, and you or like the original copyright holder, and you put that in there, so you're basically attributing who the original copyright holder is. It's really important that you don't upload any images without having permission to upload those. So make sure that A, if they're your own photographs, you're happy to share them under that Creative Commons license, and B, if you're using someone else's, that they already have been shared under a sharing Creative Commons license themselves. You can add these to collections. So thinking about the Thames at Path collection, individual records were uploaded and then those records were grouped together to form a collection. And then you also have the option of allowing members of a team to, you can create a team and members of your team can edit those records, or you can keep them only for you as well. Publishers obviously publishing that final record. I'm not going to do that with my I own a boat on the Thames record here. I'm simply going to close that down, keep that as a draft. But that's the process of adding records. So hopefully I've covered the basics. Just to very quickly summarize, from the home page, you click on Get Started or Map, and you come to this page here. If you want to add layers to explore, you can click on layers. You can go to your layer tools down here. You can choose new layers. If you want to find a particular theme, you can go to search records and you can search either topics, places, or by the tags themselves. And I think that sort of summarizes the main things that go on in Layers London. So what I thought might be quite nice now is to try and make it a bit interactive, and bearing in mind that it's lagging a little bit tonight, but we'll try our best. So if anybody has a particular area or a particular layer they would like me to upload to show them how to do that, please put that into the chat now, and we can see what I'll leave up to you to where we can go tonight. Or if no one has any questions.
We've got a few questions in the chat, but I'm waiting to see if anyone puts in some any areas that they'd like us to explore. No one yet. You do it in the Q&A section, I think. Otherwise, okay, we've got one from Hugh saying Guildhall.
Guildhall, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so bear with me. I will go to Map from the homepage. and I will go up to the top right hand corner this time where it says find a place, and this time I will type in Guildhall and it should come up with a few suggestions. If I click on Guildhall here, a nice little red dot comes into place. What I'm going to try and do is minimize this tray again. I think I'm not sure what's going on, but close these other ones just to try and, here we go. So if I go to layer tools, I'll hide records, I'll zoom in for the time being. And here we are in the City of London at the Guildhall. If I show records again, there should be quite a few different records that probably relate to archaeology or different aspects of the Guildhall. So here are a few of the summaries going on, people that are associated with the Guildhall. So there we go. And then if we want to have a look at some maps, I'll tell you which map I might upload. It is one of my favorites. Is this Roke's 10-mile round map. So let me add this one. And I'll use this layer and I'll click I'm done. And let's hide those records again, because here we have the Guildhall as depicted in Roke's time. And we can see things like the Bethlem Hospital to the northeast. We've got St. Paul's down here. If I fade those in and out, we can see how they match up here. And what I really like about Roke's map, if I click the minimize, is that it stretches right up to, well, funny enough, 10 miles around London. And when we zoom out, and we can see places like Hampton Court in the west and Moswell Hill in the north, we can see how these maps, these original maps, have been georeferenced, which causes a distortion in their original form. So because they've been stretched to match to modern day pins, you can see that this Roke, hopefully you can see this Roke map if it kicks in a minute, has been, is distorted. And it looks a little bit like a scrunched up piece of paper that's been thrown onto the map here. So there we go. Let's zoom back in and see what happens. So there's the Guildhall and the area around the Guildhall. Should we take another suggestion if there is one?
Yeah, we've got more. Somebody, Eileen, has said would love to see the area by Battersea Bridge.
By Battersea Bridge. Okay, let me type that in. Oh, Battersea. Let's just go to Battersea. And well, I'll keep this map up at the moment. So let's have a look at a different layer just for fun. Let's go for the booth one, because that's a popular one and we haven't looked at that one yet. Click I'm done. So here we go, Battersea Bridge and Victorian period. We can see the different extremes of wealth. So although there's these waterfront properties here, which are color-coded golden, or I call them golden, but they're really yellow. Those are the high wealth, and then we have the lowest in society, which are color-coded the blue, and the darker colors down here, the black, are classed as vicious and semi-criminal, and then the red tend to be comfortable and poor, comfortable and middle class. So as in most places in London, it's a bit of a mixed bag. So this area around Battersea down here is mainly sort of middle class with a few more rough areas, let's say, color-coded blue. So there we go. There's the area of Battersea Bridge. We could probably take one more, or yeah, let's take one more.
Yeah, one more. I don't know how much there is at this end, but somebody's asked about the area around Richmond Lock.
Lovely. Okay, so I'll just go into Richmond, search that. It should push us over. Let's take these maps off, because what I can do for Richmond, and I'm glad that someone said this, is I can show you the borough maps here. So when you click on Borough Maps, it gives you the different boroughs. If I click on Richmond upon Thames, oh, it should have said there were maps relating to Richmond. Let me just try that again. Why is that not happening? Let me go to all. Let's search Richmond. And here we go. I knew there were some maps relating to Richmond Borough Archives. If I click on that, there's actually quite a few here. So if I click use this layer, I'll click I'm done, and I'll just minimize this for the moment, but let's zoom out. This is a really nice set of maps if you do want to explore these later on, because I'm having real trouble with, well, I do apologize, guys, girls. Here we go. Some different historical maps relating to the borough of Richmond. There's some fantastic ones of Twickenham. I'll just open up that layer tools again, fingers crossed, and we can see some of the different layers within the Richmond Maps group here. And again, you can turn these on and off like so. And I'm not going to do it and risk doing it, but you should be able to zoom in and take a real up close look. Again, what you can do is if you know a rough area, if you want to just see what maps are in an area, you can type that in the space up here. But if you know a particular road in Richmond, then you can type that road in as well, and you should be able to zoom right into that road. But you may want to search for the borough first just to see what the coverage is before going straight into that road. Okay, we might leave it there and see if there's any other questions. Would that be okay?
There's lots of questions, so yeah, we want to go through some of them. That might be quite helpful.
Sure. Can I see those questions?
I've assigned them to you, but I don't know if you can see them, but I could read them out if that, and then everyone can.
That might be good, yeah.
Okay, so I think you may have answered this first, well, you have answered this first one, but I'll read it anyway. So I lived in Rotherhithe in the 1980s when there was still bomb damage and heavy industry. I've got photos of the squats and the travellers as they moved in. Is there a way to include these photos in the project?
Absolutely, yes. So hopefully I have answered that one. Again, you create an account, you click on add record, and then feel free to upload. I suppose the key thing is knowing exactly where that photograph was taken, but I'm sure you would know that, and then you just click on that road. You can zoom right into the road on the base map and then upload your photograph.
Cool, thank you. Okay, so the next one is, are you thinking of creating an app for Android and iOS for Layers of London?
That's a really good question. That was something that was asked at the very start of the project by the project team, and it was decided not to use an app, but to keep it a browser-based system. I think there is an argument that maybe an app would have been good, because the truth is, if you're using it on a tablet or a mobile, it's not as good as a desktop. And I say that, I haven't had trouble on a desktop tonight, but no, the answer is that the decision was made not to make it into an app, and now that the funding for the project side of it is finished, I don't think there's any intention to turn it into an app in the future. What I will say on that though, talking about funding, is that the project will still be active for at least another 5 years for contributions, if not further, and it will be archived as a site for access for at least another decade, if not further. So it's certainly, although the funding has ended, it's not a project that's over.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be a really useful resource, and I'm really looking forward for us using it at Thames Discovery, and well, some of our volunteers already have. So I know that Thames at War Thames Path Trail was put together by Angela, who's also a TDP volunteer, so for COLAS. So yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, another question. You mentioned color coding on the map earlier. Are there keys to the maps, or at least some of them? So I'm guessing that's Booth's property map and stuff?
Yeah, there should be. So on the Booth poverty map and the bomb damage map, there definitely are keys. I'll try and quickly upload one. Let's go for the Booth. Upload this. So the Booth one, not only is there a key, which if I think it appears up here, you might just be able to see it. There we go. There's also different layers that have been produced again by members of the public, and if I turn off the main map, what you should see is there's a heat map which shows the yellow and the black here between the rich and the poor. But if I turn off the heat map, each of the individual color-coded layers has also been drawn around into different polygons and mapped. So here we have just the wealthy. If you just want to see the poor or very poor, you can click on that and see where those are in London. And those are connected to the keys. So most of the maps have keys. Some of the original ones have the original keys as part of the original map.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, we've got a lot of questions. So the next one is, can you locate your position in real time onto any given layer or map? I'm guessing that's like when you're on your phone with your
Yes, I suppose. Yeah, you can. So so yeah, if you're using this on a phone, I mean, I've done this. You simply, unfortunately, you can't use it in app, as I've mentioned. But if you open it up on your browser, you can search in this find a place. So if you're in a street and you're not sure where you are in London, you can search that, find a place, find that spot, and then take a photograph of that wherever you are, and then upload it on the spot. So yeah, that is possible. It takes a while, but it certainly is possible. But that's the way to do it, find a place.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so the next one, hold on, there's so many. Okay, from Paul, is it best to open layers one at a time due to the size of the files involved?
That's a good question as well. I would have said, when I finished the project in September, so when at the end of the project, I know there were more layers being added. It looks now that there is a little bit of a lag if you open up several layers in one go. It's probably best to open up maybe 2 or 3 maximum, and then have those turned on and off. There was one stage where I could open up about 8 different layers. The other thing is that quite a lot of the layer groups have several sub-layers that we saw with, for instance, that booth map. And this is an addition to the project, but what that also means is that if you have lots of layers uploaded, your layer tool suddenly gets very large. So I would probably recommend open up maybe 1 or 2. I'll answer that question as well, maybe with another question later on. So let's go on to the next question.
Okay. This is from Kathy. How did the maps deal with the way that the course of the river has changed over time?
Yeah, that's a good one. So let's open up this Morgan, and we'll use that layer. And if I scroll down, let's go for the booth, and then it goes for the modern satellite. Use this, I'm done. So using the different layers, because of the georeferencing nature, if you fade them out, you can see that they haven't changed dramatically between some of these different time periods. But then when we start going right back to, oh, it's not uploading. Basically, what I would suggest is it won't show you the exact changes, but it will show you the different types of properties. Obviously, when the bridges start to be built, they're on there. And I'm just wondering with the Tudor map here, if it takes into account, it should do, the change in width of the river. So here you can see some of the beds. Now I think if you open up the Archaeology of Greater London with the Museum of London Archaeology layer, you can also see the development of the river from going right back to the Roman period, how the course of the river has changed from then. but I don't think it goes all the way back to prehistory.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Oh, sorry, Adam.
Let's go for the next question. And
okay, is there a batch record add capability? Hugh's asking about monumental brasses geolocated to churches, for instance.
A batch upload. So if you've got a batch of records, you want to upload them. Unfortunately not, no, you have to upload one record at a time. I should also say that the project doesn't allow individuals to upload a map. It allows people to upload records and build their own collections. So I suppose you could upload a small map as an individual record and pin it to one spot. But if there is a particular layer or map that you're really interested in, you can still contact the team, and as long as the copyright permissions allow it, it may be possible for the team to upload other maps in the future. But the answer to your question is no, you can't. If you've got a series of records, you can't batch upload those records. You can batch upload photographs within one record, but not batch up a whole load of records.
Cool. Okay, the next one is from Viv. I've recently started mudlarking. If I found anything interesting, can objects be added to the records?
Yeah, I mean that was one of the things I wanted to say tonight. Actually, I forgot to do so. But yes, I mean obviously with mudlarking, please don't forget to use the portable antiquity scheme and make sure you record any artifacts you find. But if you did, for instance, find something on the river and you thought that was of interest, then yeah, you can take a photograph of it, and if you know the location, you could upload it to the site. So that's one way to sort of show find spots, I suppose.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, no, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to get Adam to come and talk today, was so that to encourage people to be using this to do that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely. The next one's from Kathy. This is great. It is. I think it's been great. Thank you, Adam. How would you add links to the day of actions in memory of the Orlando bombings, which took place around the Admiral Duncan pub? And then she's put a link to the news story.
Okay, so if you wanted to add a link to a record, it would depend on the permissions that the record creator put into that record at the start. So if they've made it an open record where people could add their own stuff, then that would be a possibility. If they haven't done that as a feature, then the best way to add a link to a record is to use the comments. If I show records here, I'll just go to any random record. Let's see what this one is. So say, for instance, in this record, you had a bit of information. If you add that to the comments down here, and you can add the link in there, that's probably the best way to go about adding any further information.
Okay, we're getting there. There's a couple more questions left. So one from Anna is, do you retain the copyright to your pictures or anything else you upload?
So yes, you do. So with Creative Commons, you're not giving away copyright entirely. You're just enabling people to use those images for educational purposes. So so what Creative Commons doesn't allow is for someone to then go and use, so if it is your photograph, they won't be able to use that in any publication or any commercial use. So if you haven't got an account, and when you sign up, there's a little link that tells you a bit more about the copyright and the Creative Commons issues. But yes, everything is shared under Creative Commons, and it's all about sharing. It works exactly the same way as Wikipedia and Wikipedia photographs.
Brilliant, thank you. And the last question, if anyone else has got any more questions, just write them in the box now. Otherwise, the last question I've got is, should you wish to reproduce some of the map layers, what is the protocol?
Oh, sorry, could you repeat that one?
So if you want to reproduce some of the layers, what's the protocol? Actually,
okay, so
question about that as well.
Sure. So yeah, that's the great thing about the Creative Commons. If you did want to reproduce the layer, like a map layer for your own sort of educational use or private use, then you're able to do that. You can take a screenshot of the layer. You can't download a map, unfortunately, but if you did want to reproduce a layer for more commercial use or a book publication, something like that, then you would have to contact the original copyright holder. So I suppose the answer is it depends on the nature of how you're going to use that layer. But for instance, if you're doing a talk, then you can take a screenshot of the area you're interested in with whatever map is uploaded, and they're all shared under that Creative Commons.
Brilliant, thank you. And then we've just had a few thank you so much. This is really interesting in the chat as well. So that's really lovely. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Adam.
No, pleasure. I'm sorry it lagged a little bit at times, but hopefully everyone got the gist and saw how to use it.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant, I think, and really helpful and really interesting. And yeah, like I say, I think Layers of London is going to be a really, really useful resource for everyone. What I'm just going to do is
what I should have said as well was if anyone does have any questions, there are still members of the team at the University of London that answer any queries, and you can go to contact us up here. And if you do want to upload your own content, there's a really useful guide, step-by-step guide in our help centre. So please do feel free to have a look at those too.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Adam. We will send an email around probably tomorrow with some links in it and things for you, so that for everyone who came, so that you can catch up on all of that. Let me just bring my screen up. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, so I just wanted to let you know, obviously, if you haven't or aren't, you can catch up with what we're doing at Thames Discovery Programme on our social media. We're at Thames Discovery on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And then we also put all of our events up on our website, as well as we've got a blog section and a Riverpedia section there, which has got lots of information about the archaeology and the history of the river, and that's www.thamesdiscovery.org. As we mentioned at the beginning, this talk is funded by Tideway, which is a Thames super sewer. And I know somebody in the questions asked whether there's a map of the Tideway site on Layers of London, but I don't think there is there, Adam?
No, not at the moment.
But I do know there is one, I think, on the Tideway.London website. So if you want to find out more about the Tideway project, it's best probably to go to the Tideway website. But yeah, because it's funded, and also we have some funding from the City Bridge Trust as well to work with older people in London and people at risk of social isolation and former service veterans and people with mental health difficulties. We'll be sending around a feedback form as well with our email, and it would be really helpful for us if you could just fill that out and let us know what you thought about the event and why you came today and so on. As we'll use that to help us plan our future events and also to feedback to our funders about what we've been up to. And finally, we've got 2 more talks coming up in the new year. On the 14th of January, we're going to have Black History on the Thames with Tony Warner from Black History Walks. And then on the 15th of February, Lauren Speed is going to be talking about 10 years of the Portable Antiquities Scheme. And hopefully, I suspect we'll be talking about some of the mudlarking finds on the Thames. And booking should be open for both of those talks very soon. So yeah, keep an eye out. And hopefully we'll see you then. I think that's it. So I've done off screen sharing again. If anyone has any last questions or anything, I don't think so. Otherwise, I think thank you very much, Adam.
Pleasure. Thanks.
Brilliant talk. And like I say, this has been recorded, so it will be available on our YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and watch it again, if there are bits you missed or you had to drop out or whatever. So yeah, so thank you all for coming this evening. It's been a real pleasure to see you, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.